Like I said, she got to see myself, my beautiful wife Nikki, and our children, and we got to actually lay eyes on her and her mother Patrice right in our living room. And we drove around a little bit and everything. So it was really cool. And we got to do it again sometime. Got to do it again sometime. So she got to see we are real people down here in Dallas, Texas. So y'all listen, listen, y'all bared with me. Y'all are real ones because y'all bared with me through the struggle streaming and all the technicalities and all this other stuff. But we are about to dive into this topic. Now listen, y'all, I know I have not been living under a rock. I just been absent. And this stuff with Chicago popped off while I was, on a little hiatus or whatever that needed to be had at that time. But I know I'm late to the party, but without further ado, we're going to dive into this. Now, listen, most of the time we talk about Chicago, most of the time people are talking about gun violence, but we're not talking about gun violence. Well, there was some of that, but we're not talking about the rampant gun violence. At this point right now, we're going to be talking about this massive group of teens who just went ape in the city. And yes, I did say ape. I did say ape. It wasn't because of what y'all may think. I said ape because that's exactly how these children were acting in the streets. It was by no accident I selected King Kong in the thumbnail because we were acting like full-blown buffoons, just going ape in the streets. Now, we get mad when certain people try to refer to us as apes, gorillas, monkeys, all this other stuff. But then we go show our A in the streets as if we have no home training, as if we just animals, wild animals, I'd say, out in these streets. You know what? I'm not going to bore you to death with any more of that. Let me go ahead and roll the tape real quick. I'm about to share my screen so y'all can see, you know what? Jermaine ain't making this up. No, Jermaine ain't making this up at all. Matter of fact, I wish I was, but sadly, I am not. I'm about to share my screen with y'all real quick. Trying to be quick with it, but y'all know. All right, here we go. Well, let me make sure I share my audio and my screen share. Let me try. Y'all, listen. This is what happens when you take a couple weeks off. This is what happens. All right, screen is being shared. Let me make sure I get it to where I want it. All right, here we go. Let's roll that beautiful footage. Well, horrible footage in this situation.
Some breaking news off the top. Hundreds of teens flooding into downtown Chicago tonight, smashing car windows, trying to get into Millennium Park, prompting a major police response within the past few.
Can't go? Do this to clear out stuck poop fast. Fiber helps you poop, right? Nope. According to New York's top gut doctor, fiber just adds bulk and weight to
Few minutes, shots were fired near the corner of Madison and Michigan. Now, we had a news crew on the scene, but they had to move because of safety concerns. I was there a little bit earlier, about an hour and a half ago, and saw police escorting tourists and visitors to their cars in the Millennium Park parking garage. The crowd was trying to get into Millennium Park, but there are checkpoints that are not allowing anyone under the age of 21 who's not with an adult to get in. So they're massing across the street on the other side of Michigan Avenue. I spoke to a woman whose car was smashed by people jumping on the windshield. She says the crowd began beating her husband as he sat in the driver's seat. He's now been sent to Northwestern Memorial Hospital. I also talked to a woman, a Chicago native, who was appalled by what she saw.
Now, y'all remember what she just asked. She said, this is bad parenting, and where are the parents? Notice she said the parents, plural. All right, we're going to come back to that in a little bit.
The situation continues to develop at this hour. As we mentioned, we have a reporter on the scene, but there are some security concerns. Fox 32's Nate Rodgers is on Michigan Avenue in a protective position. Nate, can you tell us what you see right now?
Yeah, that's right, Dane. As you just mentioned, we're downtown on Michigan and Randolph. I'm actually probably a block away from a lot of where the chaos has originated. Right now, Chicago police are trying to clear Michigan Avenue, at least from Randolph until...
Okay, y'all get the point, but check this out. I need to share this second video. Hold up.
Chicago Police Department has not released any kind of statement. For their part, they will only confirm that they have in fact launched an internal investigation into their officers' own response after a couple who was visiting from out of town was attacked, robbed, and beaten along this stretch of Wabash earlier this weekend. And they say police never bothered to stop.
It's Ashley Knutson's scream in this cell phone video provided by CWB Chicago that caught Lenora Dennis's attention. In her own cell phone video, you see Lenora Dennis run toward the mob.
I saw police cars that kept going past, and I'm just knowing in my mind that, oh my God, they're gonna see this happening.
From the middle of this pack, with punches and kicks landing on her boyfriend's head, Ashley Knutson says there was just a second of relief as she says police approached, and then...
I actually saw a cop drive right by, and that's when the kids stopped beating up DJ, and they ran off, but the cop didn't stop. So as soon as the cop was out of eyesight, the kids started turning back and walking towards us.
That's when Dennis says she leapt into action.
I tried to stop a police car. I literally got in front of a police car and put my hands up and was telling them, hey, these people are getting assaulted. And I thought that was enough. And the police just cut a path around me and kept going.
That response is now part of an active police department internal investigation. The president of the union representing Chicago police officers supports that probe for a police force he says has been overly criticized and crippled their response.
I don't know what officers were involved, maybe they were going to another call. Who knows? Nobody knows the particular details, but the knee-jerk reaction is, oh my God, this sounds terrible.
All of that will be part of the Chicago Police Department's internal investigation looking at that response. The couple has said that Chicago police investigators...
So the question on the floor this evening is, why do the children feel so free to run rampant in the city? Why do the children feel so free to wreak havoc on the city with no recourse, like reckless abandonment? Like, I don't care what y'all say you're gonna do, I'm not scared of you. Why do the children feel this way? Why do the teens feel like they can huddle up a massive group in downtown Millennium Park in downtown Chicago and then just act a fool, get on top of cars, smash car windows, start beating up people for no apparent reason? Now listen, we always want to... Now listen, if you didn't notice, most of the children look like me. They share my image. Now we're all image bearers of God, but I am saying what I am saying is most of those children were African American. Now we always want to scream, oh, well, just give us a chance. We're not bad people. Well, apparently, I guess according to those children, if you let us act a fool, that's what we're gonna do. Now, out of all cities, why did they feel like they could do that in downtown Chicago with no recourse? Well, if you know the history of Chicago, Illinois, I don't know if I say Chicago, Illinois. Some people say Illinois. I say Illinois. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I don't care. If you know this, the history of Chicago, Illinois, you know that historically, this has been a very liberal city for the better part of a century. And it's been ran by Democrats. Now, regardless of what side of the aisle you fall on, this is a fact. It's been ran by Democrats, liberal Democrats, I would add, for the better part of a century. And so when you have a city that says you know what? We want our liberal rights. We want to be liberated. We want to be progressive. We want to live in lawlessness, just like Fact Check These Hands just said. Shout out to you, brother. Please subscribe to the channel if you have a chance. And but yeah, when you have a city that says we want to do stuff the way we want to do it, bump God, this is what you get. You know, Galatians chapter 6 verse 7 comes to mind. It says, "Be not deceived, God is not mocked. Whatever you sow, that you shall also reap." So in this situation, if you sow destruction, if you sow reckless abandonment, if you sow dysfunction, if you sow lawlessness, if you sow disobedience, if you sow destruction, if you sow dysfunction and all this other stuff, you will find yourself in despair, because guess what? That's what you're going to reap. And this is what you see in that city right now. People acting a plain fool because there's no law. Let's get on something real quick. I'm just getting started. Let's get on something real quick. I'm sorry, I'm laughing at the photo right now. Let's get on something real quick. Y'all, listen, let me show you the woman. Let me show y'all the mirror. This woman right here. Y'all see this woman? Let me minimize myself. Y'all see this woman? I'm trying to make it real big. Y'all see her? Do y'all know who? Shut up. Now listen, that's not a mongoose. That's not the little mongoose off of what is it? The Lion King, Hakuna Matata. That's not what that's not what that is. I promise. I promise. I hate him. That's not what that is. That is the mayor of Chicago, Mayor Lightfoot. All right. Mayor Lightfoot is a very liberal mayor. All right. And she believes that she shouldn't empower or work with the law enforcement. She wants to overthrow or what is it? Defund the police. And she says, you know what? In these situations, what we need people to show up, and instead of putting them, actually remedying the situation, we need people to just show up and talk to them. We need to send social workers out there and just say, hey, come, let us reason. Let's talk about it. No. First of all, how many social workers do you think are going to show up to a scene that I just showed y'all, talking about, hey, stop. Come on, children, just stop it. Do you think that social workers, being the wages that you pay them, are going to show up with no badge, no gun, talking about, let's talk this out. Let's talk this out, young fella. No, they're not. They're not going to do that. But this woman seems to think that sending social workers out to scenes like that is the answer. Let me show y'all something else about Mayor Lightfoot. Y'all see this? Y'all see this right here? Now, listen. This is Mayor Lightfoot. Yeah, you're right. If you guessed right, if you guessed it that that's a woman she's kissing, you would guess right. That's a woman she's kissing. That's her lover, partner, or whatever they call them these days. That would be her. That aside, yeah, she is Team Rainbow. And she's Team Rainbow. And this woman just seems to believe, hey, let's send social workers to the scene. Yeah. Fact check these hands. They've taken God out of schools and most churches. So I don't know what they expected would happen. Yeah, that is a very good point. But the sadder issue is this. We've taken God out of our homes. Long before we took it out of schools, we took him out of our homes. And I'm going to get to that here in a little bit. Let me stop showing the picture of this ugly cat. I'm sorry. Did I say that? Did he just say what he said? I hate him. Dang, I need to stop doing that. All right, y'all listen. Y'all can hear me, right? Y'all can hear me. All right. Man, oh gosh, let me get it off my screen. Gosh. It's horrible. Anyways, but yeah, that's Mayor Lightfoot. So Mayor Lightfoot says, we want we want social workers to come up on the scene, right? That's what we want to come. We don't want folks to step up on the scene. All right. We don't want folks to show up on the scene. Cops. We want cops to show. We don't want cops because down here in Dallas, folks will tell you, cops will show up on the scene like this. I'll smoke a fool. That's how cops show up on the scene down here. But let me tell you how they show up on the scene in Chicago. Please stop it, kind sir. Stop. Stop. Let me play that again just in case y'all missed it. Please stop it, kind sir. Stop. Stop. Yes. That's how they show up on the scene in Chicago. Now, it's not because they wanted to show up that way. It's because they have been given no teeth. They're the teacher. You know what this reminds me of? Y'all remember grade school? Shoot, some of y'all remember high school and middle school. Y'all did this in there too. What we would do in school is whenever the real teacher was out, we would have a substitute. Well, whenever you found out you had a substitute, you knew you could act a plain fool. You know why? Like you could go right on the chalkboard. Some would call it a blackboard. You could go knock over people's, pencils off people's desks. You can go write notes. You could do all of this stuff. You could do everything that you couldn't do with the regular teacher. You could do it with the substitute teacher. And you know why we felt that way? Why many felt that way? Honestly, y'all ain't gonna cap. I didn't really take advantage of substitute teachers. I guess God knew I was gonna marry me an educator. But anyways, the reason why you could do that to the substitute teacher is because the substitute teacher had no recourse. She had no teeth. She could gum you, but she couldn't bite you. She had no teeth. The worst she could do, what she gonna do? Send you to the principal's office? Oh, hello. Yeah. She had no recourse. And so this is what it reminds me of. This is what the law enforcement in Chicago reminds me of. We got a bunch of flashlight cops walking around talking about I see you. And y'all know what I'm talking about. If I had it, they would have I see you. I see. Yeah, I'm thinking of Martin right now. I didn't upload that Martin clip, but trust and believe that's in my cabeza right now. Y'all picture that. I see you, flashlight cops. But yeah, a bunch of substitute teachers running around. So what do you expect them to do? That's why you had the cop roll by the woman and say, because they've been remedied helpless. They have no backing, they have no support, and they have a threat of having their funding pulled away from them, all because of a mayor, I said mayor, but I really say mayor, because of a mayor that has no backbone and is liberal and is as liberal as they come. Now I know what some of y'all may be saying. Now, wait a minute. Even if the mayor is weak, even if she's laxed and seems to have no clue how to properly run a city, like the woman said in the video, what about the parents? What about the parents, Jermaine? What about the parents? Well, in the case of Chicago and in other places in the U.S., I guess we need to just change that from what about the parents to what about the parent in the home. Yeah, I'm going there. Y'all remember, let's go back through memory lane for a second. Y'all remember this dude right here? Y'all remember him? Remember that dude? Yeah, that would be one Terry Crews. That was Ted Cruz. Now, if memory serves me right, a few years ago, he found himself in hot water in the black community. Well, within the black population, because we don't have a community. Within the black population, many people took issue with what he had to say because it was on the topic. Man, what is happening with my stuff? My gosh, what is happening? Okay. Because many people took issue to what he had to say. African Americans, mostly women, but by and large, it was a population of people. Now, some people actually understood what the brother was trying to say, and some people just tried to deflect it and say, you know what, it's white supremacy, it's white folks, it's law enforcement, it's all that. No. He said, well, on the issue of Chicago having all of these murders and homicides, it has something to do or a correlation with fatherless homes. People being raised by single mothers. And he called all HE double hockey sticks from folk because he said that. Because Terry Crews dared to push the envelope and say, you know what? I'm going to just call a spade a spade. We have fatherlessness in our community. We have no fathers, or we have a lack of fathers in our households. Now, of course, we have done a lot better, but by and large, we still have a long way to go. Terry Crews. Now, instead of us taking what this man had to say at face value and say, step back for a minute and say, you know what? I may not like the fact that he said it, but if I really think about it, man, I got a cousin named Trey. He ain't got no daddy in the house. My friend Tanya, she ain't got no daddy in the house. I got a Candace, she ain't got no daddy. Michael, he ain't got no daddy in the house. And you know what? Large majority of the people I just mentioned, they're not doing too well in life. And they seem to live life by the seat of their pants. And they seem to lack the discipline needed to be a functioning adult. And they seem to be living on the cuffs or on the fray of, dare I say, committing crimes. And they seem to have no problem with being smoking or doing recreational drugs. And they seem to have no respect for authority. And they seem to have no respect for the police. Where am I going with this? Terry Crews was right. He was right. But the thing about us is I understand us because I am us, grew up around us, and I know how us is. And the problem with us is that most of us are emotionally charged. And that has its advantages in certain settings and in certain situations. However, the con of it all is that oftentimes it allows us to overlook the real issues at hand, the real things at play, and say, you know what? Let me look at this. Instead of me being so emotionally charged, let me look at this with a sober mind and say, make my assessment and say, you know what? Dang, that dude is right. He was right. He was right. The man was right. He was right. I know a lot of y'all. I know. I understand that's where y'all at with it, but that's not where I am with it. I think the man was right. I know the man was right. And I'm not going to bore y'all with all the stats about children raised in single parent households, children being raised by single mamas, children being raised by single daddies, or children being raised. Listen, I understand that there are outliers and there are people who defied the odds and all of that. I understand. But for the large bulk, the large majority of our population, having children being raised by single parents proves to be detrimental. It proves to be detrimental. It does. Y'all go look up the stats on your own. I'm the statistician, but I ain't got time today. I ain't got time. I just needed to come on here and show my face and let it be known as to what I think about what's going on in Chicago. I understand. Please miss me with the outliers and the exceptions and all this other stuff. And yeah, my granny and my mom, yeah, they did it all on it. Yes. But for every granny that was successful in doing it, for every auntie that was successful in doing it, for every mama that was successful for doing it, you got 10 of them that failed. So the question that we have here, you know what? I'm about to play it. I'm about to play it. Yeah, we will.
We will not have it. I said we will not have it. Oh.
We won't have it. We won't have it. We won't. Now listen, how do we get here? We understand where we are. We understand that. We understand where we are. But how did we get to this state? How did we get here? Well, listen, I'm going to tell you how we got here. There's something called the sexual liberation movement. Yes, I'm going there. Y'all already know. I'm going there. There was something called the sexual liberation movement that took place in the 1960s. All right? Where, let's just call a spade a spade. Before the 1960s, the sexual liberation movement in the 1960s, I'm here to tell y'all, men, it was harder to get the box. That's just the way I'm gonna put it. It was harder to get the box. And if you don't believe me, ask your grandpappy. If he's still alive, he would tell you, yep, it was hard to get the box. It was hard to get the box. It was harder. It was. But on the dawning of the sexual liberation movement, all right, you went from people being wholesome, being reserved, being modest. But after the sexual liberation movement, people went from having wholesome reputations to having reputations like this.
I swear she's up to no good. She's a man-eater.
Yes. After the dawning of the sexual liberation movement, we had people who became certified man-eaters. Oh gosh, it's hard to say that with a straight face. Yes, certified man-eaters. All right. Now, listen, I know what I'm about to hear. It takes two to tango. Bet, I got you. I understand it takes two to tango. It takes two. But unless we got dudes running rampant out here, beating women over the head with a club, dragging them back to their cave and laying with them, the fact of the matter is it took two of y'all to agree to lay down together. It took two of y'all to agree to lay down together. But the problem is, here's the difference. It used to be to where in order to agree to lay down with you, had to put that ring on the finger. Had to put that ring on it. All right. Now it's like a come one, come all. And I'm going to play it again. We got people who are out in these streets with a reputation of this.
I swear she's up to no good. She's a man-eater.
Yes. Yes. I know that men need to make better choices, and I understand that. All right. But men needed to make better choices before the 1960s. What changed in the 1960s is that people were willing to get and do the Humpty Hump without having this. And when you do it without having this, all right, you run the risk, a greater risk of doing it all on your lonesome. And so my question is, listen, miss me with the, well, listen, I can do it. Yeah, I understand that you can do it on your own. People can do a lot of stuff, but here's the question. I understand that you can raise a child on your own, but the question is, should you? And the greater question is, why would you want to? Why would you want to? When you understand the stats that come with raising a child on your own, and you understand if you really take into totality the financial, I don't want to say burden or obligation that comes with raising a kid, why would you want to? And please, please don't just rely on Big Daddy government to do it. Because the check will never replace a man. But that's the lie that we started accepting in the 1960s with the Great New Deal. We believed that the check usurped the man, and we didn't need no man no more because we had Big Daddy government coming in with checks saying, hey, listen, if you got a man in the house, you ain't gonna get the check. So you had to choose. Am I gonna take the check of the man? And we sold the man cheap. Sold him cheap. Men need to make better decisions as well. We understand that. But the man, regardless of what decision the man makes, he cannot lay with you unless you agree to lay with him. Unless you agree to lay with him. I hate him. I know. But see, listen, regardless of what you think you can do, because you just superwoman, I'm going to take it back to Genesis chapter 1, verse 28. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 28, God said, and God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply. Be fruitful and multiply. Now, what does God mean? Because listen, I don't want y'all to just take my word for it. What does God mean when he says, be fruitful and multiply? What does he mean? What is he talking about? What are you talking about? What you talking about, Cletus? I'm going to tell you. Listen, let's explore this Genesis 1 chapter 20. I'm sorry, Genesis chapter 1 verse 28 a little bit deeper. All right, let's explore what it has to say. Because listen, I know we have a lot of people to get on here and talk about what we need to do and the solutions and all this other stuff. But on this channel, you gonna get the word. You gonna get the Bible. This is That Christian Fam, and we dive into the word, or we at least apply the word to whatever conversation we are having. All right, that's what we do. That's what we do up in here. All right. So let's look at what it has to say about being fruitful and multiply, because we got one thing right. We got the latter part of that verse good. We know how to multiply. We just multiply. We lay down. We pop out like 4 of them in a span of 5 years. We know how to multiply. But the problem is we're not doing too good with that being fruitful part. We missed that whole first part. We go to the second part. Let's see what God has to say when he says, be fruitful and multiply. Let's see. Let me go up here. Okay. Yes. Right here. It says the creation mandate, sometimes called the dominion mandate or the cultural mandate, describes God's word to Adam and Eve in Genesis 1, explaining how to be good stewards of his creation. Y'all keep that in mind. When we think of a mandate, we usually think of a command, but the creation mandate is not just a command. It's a divine blessing. Praise God. It is a blessing to be able to raise children. God wants mankind to be fruitful and multiply. He wanted Adam to have children. God wasn't satisfied with one image bearer. He wants the earth to be full of people who share his image, because the people of God, the people God created, would use and alter the natural world. God gave mankind a second command to subdue or govern the earth. God designed humans to be creative and to create in and with the world they live in. Wherever people go and live, they are to rule over the creation. So I said all that to say this. Listen, this is what God was getting at when he said, be fruitful and multiply. We got the multiply part down. We got it down. But it's the be fruitful part. To be fruitful means to steward whatever you have created. Meaning you bring a child in this world, you're supposed to steward that child. Because keep in mind, the child is not yours. The child is God's. You just steward that child. We got 3 kids running around. We got 3 little kids running around. We do. We up in this house, me and my wife, we do. We do. Yeah, Chelsea, you met all 3 of them. Yes, we got 3. She can attest. We got 3 of them up in here. Yes, we do. We love each and every one of them. But one thing we are going to do, we're going to be stewards over those children. We're going to raise them children. We're going to raise them in the fear and the admonition of the Lord. We're not one of them people, and I'm not trying to toot our horn, but we're not one of them people that just go get our baby dedicated to the Lord and the pastor gives us a charge to raise them in the fear and the admonition of the Lord, and then we do everything. But no, we raise our children in the fear and admonition of the Lord. We do that. We do it. That's what we do. It's funny how when I go to scripture, people just start dipping. It's funny. It's for y'all some funny folk. You know that y'all some funny folk. But be fruitful and multiply. Steward what you have. Put a 1 in the chat if you still here. Be fruitful and multiply. So let me try to put this in layman's terms. All right. It's almost like this. I know one person can plant a flower. I understand that. One person can plant a flower. Put 1 in the chat if you still here. One person can plant a flower. One person can take care of a flower. We understand that. But that's not what God said to do. He said it takes 2 people to steward that flower. 2 is better than 1. And because there may be times where you might have something to do and you can't steward that flower like you should or like you want to do. That's why you have a second person. So regardless of what we can do, what we have done, all this other stuff, God didn't call 1 person to steward that flower. He called 2. He called 2. He called 2 of y'all to steward that flower. Why are we going away from God's plan? It's because we want to live by the seat of our pants. We want to do what we want to do. Well, God says, okay, fine. You do what you want to do. I understand. But just remember, you reap what you sow. You told me you didn't want me. You told me you didn't need me. You told me you want to live how you want to live. Well, guess what? This is why you got kids out there tearing up your city, because they living how they want to live. When Junior gets listen, when you're raising a single child, when you're in a single parent mother, when you're a single parent, here's what I got to say. All right. You can have a Keisha and it will be a lot. And granted, you may go through some difficulties raising Keisha being a single mama. I get it. You might have, especially when she becomes a teenager, y'all might butt heads, right? And at that point, really, I don't know if you could really whoop her at that age. But let's go to Junior. Let's go to Keon. All right. Well, when Keon gets about 13, Mama, what you gonna do with him? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? At that point, he's bigger, stronger, and faster than you at the age of 13. Bigger, stronger, faster than you. What you gonna do with him? This is why you need a husband. Not just a man, you need a husband to get in there and regulate. But this why you saw Tyrone. This why you saw Pookie and them tearing up houses. I'm sorry, tearing up cars and stuff, beating up people for no apparent reason, because they ain't got no daddy. And when you have no daddy, y'all heard my kids in there. I told them to be quiet, but listen. I'm gonna check him when I get off. Trust me, because I am daddy. When you have no daddy, there's no regulation. There may be some regulations, but you enforcing those regulations and those rules, it's gonna be a lot harder because we neglected God's original design, which was the nuclear family. What does that consist of, Jermaine? I'm glad y'all asked. The nuclear family consists of one husband, a man, one wife, a woman, then children. And the order, I will throw this in, the order is God, husband, wife, children. Fight with your daddy. Fight with your mama, not me. I didn't say it, God said it. Y'all can call the Bible patriarchal. I just call it God's order. If you have a problem, take it up with God, not with me. Y'all, I appreciate you. Bruh, I appreciate you sticking around. Fact check these hands says, if no father in the home, please take them to a healthy church with good male role models. Yes, exactly. Even that is a shade that pales in comparison to having a father in the home, but at least it's something where they can see godly men and how to operate. Well, depending on what church you take them to, I would say that too. But y'all, listen, I said what I had to say. I appreciate y'all hanging around. And once again, if you're offended, thanks for watching. I hope this helps somebody on the other side of this video. And for all the trolls, brother, I appreciate y'all. I really do appreciate every last one of y'all. For all the trolls or anybody else, if you offended, I really don't care.